Hey everyone, Marvin here, and welcome back to Buddy Up Gaming. In this video, we're diving into the second main campaign in Griftlands, featuring Rook, the grizzled old spy with a talent for manipulation, marksmanship, and making deals that always seem to benefit him most. Rook's story takes place in the Grout Bog, a swampy frontier torn between the corporate power of the Spark Barons and the revolutionary zeal of the Rise. Both factions think Rook is working for them, but his true mission lies deeper in the bog, buried with a mysterious artifact that could change everything. Once we've fully explored the main story campaign, we'll move into the mechanics that make Rook so unique, his coin-flipping negotiations and his multi-chamber pistols, and break down the best deck builds for both negotiations and combat. By the end, you'll have a solid foundation for building your own decks and developing a playstyle that fits the way you want to guide Rook through his journey. Rook's story takes place in the Grout Bog, a war-torn swamp where laborers dig for ancient technology under the oppressive rule of the Spark Barons. The region is tense and dangerous, filled with opportunists, mercenaries, and revolutionaries, all fighting to tip the balance of power in their favor. Rook steps into this chaos as a double agent, working for both the Spark Barons and their rivals, the Rise, a resistant group determined to free the Bog's workers from exploitation. Both factions think Rook is here to serve their cause. Neither realizes he has his own hidden agenda, recovering a mysterious artifact buried deep within the bog. The campaign opens at a guarded checkpoint. You'll need to convince the guard that Rook is here on legitimate business. When asked about Rook's role, choose security. It rewards you with one of the strongest negotiation cards in the game, Blacklist. It starts off modest, but its damage increases by 2 for every different opponent Rook faces. Considering how many negotiations you'll encounter throughout the campaign, by the final day, Blacklist can easily cut an enemy's resolve in half with a single play. It's an incredible card for just 2 actions. Once you're past the guard, you'll need to decide which faction to start with, the Spark Barons or the Rise. Since you chose security, you'll begin with the Spark Barons. Rook's point of contact is Philemo, an old comrade from his Admiralty days. Complete a few missions for him, then meet up at the Last Stand bar, where Philemo lays out his plan. He wants Rook to infiltrate the Rise as a double agent. To sell the story, Philemo provides Rook with sensitive Spark Baron intelligence that will give the Rise a tactical edge. Rook accepts and sets out to meet Calandra, the leader of the Rise. Instead, he's intercepted by her second-in-command, Fleckfist, who asks Rook to assist with a mission while they verify the intelligence. Once the information checks out, Rook is welcomed into the organization, only to learn that Calandra has her own proposition. She too wants Rook to act as a double agent against the Spark Barons. During this first day, 2 major opportunities can shape your run. The first comes when Pengament, a Kradeshi coin collector, appears after the Last Stand bar is unlocked. Pengament lets Rook trade his coin once per day, and trading up for a better coin greatly improves your odds at winning negotiations. Rook doesn't start with strong defensive cards, so the best strategy is to trade for coins that provide defense on heads. Pick up the Marsh coin on day 1, the Bog coin on day 2, and the Turtle coin on day 3. The only exceptions are the Chaos coin or Tyrant's coin on day 3, if your deck leans towards discarding or hostility strategies. The second opportunity is the event where Rook meets Frizz, an Admiralty weaponsmith who built his pistols. Frizz offers to adjust the number of chambers in Rook's guns, and you should always choose to decrease that number. With fewer chambers, Rook builds Overcharge much faster, a mechanic we'll cover in more depth later in the video. Before ending the day, stop by the Black Market, Rook's equivalent of Sal's Night Market. Spend your money on cards and graphs that support your preferred negotiation and combat builds. Finally, head to the drop point to report in to Rook's shadowy employer. Before Rook can finish, he's ambushed by an old associate. Win this boss fight to close out Day 1. Day 2 begins with a nasty surprise. Rook gets bitten by one of the bog's local parasites, gaining 2 new cards, one for negotiations and one for combat. These parasite cards behave like normal cards, but come with strange effects that range from mildly helpful to incredibly annoying. Each has a counter that tracks how often they're played, and as you use them, they evolve into new forms. Eventually, they'll reach a final stage that offers permanent bonuses, so it's sometimes worth playing them regularly. That said, it's important to remember one thing. Never try to remove parasite cards from your deck. Doing so permanently reduces Rook's maximum HP by 10, a steep price that's definitely not worth paying. The rest of the day is fairly straightforward. You'll complete missions for both factions, then face off against a bog creature boss at the end of the day. Things take a turn on Day 3. Rook's shadowy employer finally contacts him with intel about the artifact's location. It's buried deep within the Grout Bog, too deep to reach without the backing of a major faction. That means it's time to decide which side you want to support. Deliver the intel to your chosen faction leader, then spend the day completing missions for both sides. As night falls, you'll join your faction on a raid into the bog, only to discover that the intel led you not to the artifact, but to a bogger camp instead. The ensuing battle pits you against 3 soldiers. 2 of them carry shields and a dangerous counter mechanic. Every turn you don't attack them, the counter drops by 1, and when it hits 0, they retaliate for free. The trick is to alternate your attacks between these 2 shielded enemies while leaving the 3rd for the end. Defeating the boggers forces a retreat, setting up a trail your faction can follow deeper into the bog the next day. Before resting, Rook reports back at the drop point, only to be confronted by the second in command of the faction you didn't choose, either Arint or Fleckfist. You'll need to defeat them in combat to maintain your cover. The final day begins with an all-out expedition. Rook joins his chosen faction in pursuit of the boggers, pushing into the heart of their territory. The trek includes multiple battles, and you'll receive 2 special support cards to even the odds. The first calls in your faction leader, triggering a powerful attack against all enemies. The second summons reinforcements, offering 4 unique attacks that differ depending on which faction you backed. Both sets include a multi-target strike, a heavy single-target hit, and a move that applies the impaired debuff. They all cost 0 actions, but have limited uses, so deploy them wisely. At the start of the expedition, you'll run into a skirmish with the opposing faction. Rook will argue for staying out of it, but your faction leader insists on helping. You can resolve the standoff through negotiation or combat, whichever better fits your deck. Shortly after, wild creatures ambush your team, leading to another fight. After the dust settles, you'll get a brief rest opportunity, where Rook will have the opportunity to restore his health or resolve, upgrade a card, or claim 4 item cards: the Spark Grenade, Portable Bunker, Aerostat Coil Gun, and Bog Scimitar. The final stretch has Rook leading the assault on the Bogger stronghold. Once you've defeated their forces, the opposing faction leader arrives, and you're faced with a choice: side with your allies, betray them, or walk away and pursue the artifact alone. Personally, I prefer sticking with my chosen faction. It leads to the most satisfying narrative conclusion. After that, Rook must win a negotiation against his own faction leader to prove his loyalty one last time. All that double agent work really takes a toll on trust. The climax comes with the battle against Glowfryan, the Bogger High Priest. Before the fight, you can attempt an optional negotiation to demoralize him. Destroying his supporting arguments will weaken him in combat, giving you a better advantage. At first, Glowfryan seems manageable, until his health drops to 0. Suddenly, he's swallowed whole by the monstrous Grout Monster, revealing the true final boss. The Grout Monster can summon creatures that reduce the damage it takes, and it uses piercing attacks that steal cards from your deck. You'll need to destroy the birds it spawns to recover those cards. Despite its tricks, the ground monster can't stand up to a well-built deck. Once it's defeated, Rook recovers the artifact his employer wanted and walks away from the bar, having completed his mission. And maybe, just maybe, leaving the region in slightly better shape than he found it. Rook's negotiation mechanics are some of the most unique and satisfying in Griftlands. Instead of relying purely on cards or arguments, Rook brings an entirely new layer of strategy with his coin mechanic. Rook uses a coin that can land on either heads or tails, and that coin becomes the backbone of his entire playstyle. His deck is full of cards that let him gamble, which flips the coin, or rig it, which forces it to land on a specific side. Other cards can even flip the coin mid-turn, adding a layer of unpredictability that makes every negotiation feel like a little game of chance. There are 12 different coins in total, each with unique effects that trigger when they land on heads or tails. Some coins focus on defense, others on damage, and a few deliver some truly unique effects. While there's a lot of nuance to master with Rook's coin, an easy early strategy is to use coins where heads provides defense to your friendly arguments. From there, focus on gambling as often as possible to keep those defenses stacked high while chipping away at your opponent. Naturally, Rook's first major negotiation build revolves around gambling. He starts with 2 zero-action call-it cards that flip the coin, and you can draft additional cards like Raw and Headbang to gamble even more frequently. With the right coin, all that gambling keeps Rook's defenses high while still letting him pressure his opponent. To dish out damage efficiently, grab cards like Dilemma, which hits for free when conditions are met, or Dig, which delivers a solid punch when the coin face matches its requirement. If you really want to make this build sing, the card Fallout is your top priority. It deals damage every time Rook gambles, turning all that flipping and rigging into a steady stream of offense. Pair that with the Coin Juggler Flourish in a tight spot, and watch the damage numbers pile up. Rook's second negotiation build focuses on the Prepare mechanic. A card is considered prepared when it sits in the leftmost slot of your hand, and many of Rook's cards gain powerful bonuses when used from that position. For example, Head Turner grants an extra action, Praise builds influence, and Grunt deals an additional 3 to 5 damage when played while prepared. To make this build work consistently, you can't just hope those cards land in the left slot by chance. You'll need reliable ways to prepare them. The card Stack Deck gives you the ability to prepare one card automatically at the start of your turn, while Upright lets you prepare a card when you have influence. And finally, Rook's Always Prepared Flourish is the perfect complement. It allows you to prepare a new card after every one you play, keeping your momentum rolling. This build truly shines when facing the Rise. Rise characters deploy a special argument that adds propaganda cards to your hand each turn after the second turn. These propaganda cards let you prepare one card for free, feeding perfectly into your strategy. Propaganda cards will eventually clutter your hand if the negotiation drags on, but if you're playing efficiently, you'll likely win long before that becomes an issue. Rook's third build takes a more aggressive route by discarding cards to stack Dominance, which increases the damage dealt by hostility cards. The two key cards for this setup are Snag and Bottom Snail. Snag stays in your hand until played, and lets you discard Bottom Snail for free to gain 1 or 2 stacks of Dominance. From there, cards like Grunt become devastating, benefiting from the huge damage boost Dominance provides. It's a lean, efficient, and very direct build. Outside of these 3 main builds, there are a few cards that Rook should almost always consider drafting. Bluff and Dead Draw are fantastic ways to draw more cards when you don't get the ones you need. Meanwhile, any card that lets you rig your coin flips helps you control the randomness of your gambles and trigger your best effects more consistently. If you happen to draft Pressure though, you can throw all those build archetypes out the window. Pressure is powerful enough to carry its own strategy. As long as you maintain at least 1 stack of influence, its damage ramps up every time it's played, and in a thin deck, it can become your single most reliable source of offense. Combine it with solid card draw and defenses, and you'll be surprised at how quickly Rook can end negotiations through sheer calculated pressure. Rook's combat system is one of the most unique in Griftlands, built entirely around the chambers in his pistols. He starts each battle with 4 chambers, charges 1 at the start of every turn, and gains defense at the end of the turn equal to the number of empty chambers. If all of Rook's chambers are filled at the start of a turn, he begins to accumulate Overcharge, a special buff that increases the maximum damage of his attacks by 1 for every stack. Alongside that, certain cards grant Concentration, which raises the minimum damage of Rook's attacks by 1 per stack, up to its maximum value. The two mechanics complement each other perfectly. Overcharge pushes your damage ceiling higher, and Concentration ensures every shot hits harder and more reliably. While some cards have effects that trigger based on how many chambers are filled or empty, the core strategy is straightforward: stack Overcharge and Concentration to ramp up your damage output. Rook's basic kit naturally supports an Overcharge playstyle. The first step is to upgrade his standard Crank card into the Induction Crank variant. Playing it once is often enough to get Rook fully charged, but you can speed things up even more with cards like Shock Therapy and Striker, both of which accelerate Overcharge building. When it comes to dealing damage, Rook has several great options that take full advantage of those Overcharge stacks. The Loaded Blast variant of his basic card and Jolt both deliver solid hits without using up any actions, letting you stay aggressive while keeping your turn efficient. Surge Coil and Gemini also pack a punch, but the real star here is Charged Barrage, a powerhouse that lets Rook attack 4 times with a single action. With a healthy dose of Overcharge, those rapid-fire shots can completely melt an opponent's health bar. If your run doesn't offer strong Overcharge cards, don't worry, Rook's Burn build is a devastating alternative. Burn functions a lot like Sal's Bleed mechanic, but stronger. At the start of each enemy's turn, the target with Burn and all other enemies lose health equal to the number of Burn stacks, and then the number is halved. Apply enough Burn and your enemies will effectively destroy themselves over time. To make it even better, pairing Burn with the Scorch debuff changes everything. Instead of halving each turn, Scorch enemies lose just 1 stack of Burn per turn, letting you keep the heat going indefinitely. Seer is your best card for applying Burn, since its stacks scale with the damage dealt. Combine it with Chimney or Accelerant to apply Scorch on the same turn, locking in those Burn stacks for the long haul. You'll also want at least 1 copy of Wildfire, which spreads Burn to every enemy in multi-target fights, a lifesaver in tougher encounters. With all his offensive power, Rook easily dishes out the highest damage in Griftlands, but he's also the most fragile of the 3 main characters. He starts with the lowest HP, and his default defense cards leave a lot to be desired. That's why drafting strong defensive options is just as important as finding the perfect damage cards. 2 excellent picks are Tight Spot and Sentinel, both of which become much stronger once upgraded. But the best defensive card in Rook's entire arsenal is Telegraph. It grants Rook 3 stacks of concentration and then adds defense equal to twice that amount. Since concentration only decreases when Rook actually takes damage, the synergy between high concentration and Telegraph scaling defense creates a feedback loop that can make Rook nearly untouchable. If you can stack concentration through a graft or support card, Telegraph alone can carry your defense through the toughest late game battles. Outside of the main Overcharge and Burn builds, Rook benefits greatly from cards that boost card draw and consistency. Scanner is one of the most interesting. It applies a status effect that lets Rook draw a card every time the marked target is attacked. Pair it with 0 action cards like Loaded Blast, and you'll be cycling through your deck at lightning speed. Other great options include Vantage and Squeeze, both of which draw 3 cards and add to the number of Overcharge or Concentration stacks depending on the number of attack cards drawn. Together, these ensure that Rook's hand stays full, his damage stays high, and his turns always feel deliberate and dynamic. I hope this guide helped you get a better feel for what Rook has to offer in Griftlands. Building a deck that truly clicks, whether for negotiations or combat, always involves a bit of luck. But more than that, it's about creativity. The real joy comes from learning how to make the most of what you're given. Finding those little synergies that turn a random hand of cards into a cohesive, unstoppable strategy. And when it all comes together, when your deck starts flowing and every move lands exactly how you planned, it's an incredible feeling. That surge of momentum, turning what should have been a tough battle into a total cakewalk, is one of the most rewarding moments Griftlands has to offer. If you've been enjoying Rook's campaign and are thinking about pushing yourself further, check out the guide linked in the description. It breaks down every card in Rook's arsenal and shows how to use them effectively in the builds we discussed today. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Buddy Up Gaming for more family-friendly gaming guides, reviews, and strategies. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there in the ground block.